I have. And I can't, even if I had 5 hours, I wouldn't still do justice to it. But I'm deliberate on what I've picked, and I wish that the few elements may affect something. The concept of love, as translated in our English version, often, at least we find in the Bible, just two terms. There is love and charity, right? Now, the charity one is just from a Latin word. The translators know why they put charity when they find the same root word that they assert agape. I mean, they assert love to it sometimes. But I want us to learn something that there are at least 4 concepts of love as rooted in the original language from which we get the Bible word. But the ones mostly emphasized are purely 2 concepts, and I'll focus on those ones. There's the storge, that is just a love between, it's a parental love towards the children. There's philia, that is towards equals or friends. And then there is eros. It's more of what erotic or what we'll call romantic love. Let me put it at that ambiguous level. And then there's agape. And I want us to note something, that until the New Testament, until the disciples of Christ existed on earth, until the ascension of Christ, there was nothing like agape known to them. This may come surprisingly, but I want us to understand that is why you will often read things like, it is written that you shall hate your enemy, but now I tell you. The concept they had been surviving on, the one that they had known was eros. And I want us, because we purely often operate on eros, I want us to identify a few things. First, there is a difference between agape and eros. It is a misunderstanding or interchanging of these things that make us relate terribly with God. We think him altogether such an one as ourselves. Eros, agape, is just a love that is divine. No human being can originate it. In other words, to the people whom we think we love most, we can't exercise agape towards them. It's impossible for us to do it. It is divine in nature. On the other hand, eros is intrinsic in humanity. In other words, even the selfish atheists can love at an erotic level. The second point I want us to note is that agape creates value. In other words, agape finds an object that is not worthy, an object that is degraded, then sees it in the sense of its elevated condition, then loves it as though it was already elevated. Well, in the other sense, eros does not do that. Eros loves the value that exists. If that value goes down, eros can't love. The reason why people struggle with the concept of love and relationships terribly is because they do not know whatever they call love, God does not call love. No one knows. They are the only ones who know what they call love. Eros is not love. And we'll come to learn more why I'm saying that. It is based on, I will repeat, it's based on value. It finds someone will say, I love people who are intelligent. People would make cohorts. And you'll find that people relate at some certain level, and they are more attached to people who maybe within their class they gain. And you'll find the reason why people want to attach themselves to people who are higher and higher is eros. What takes them there is not their tender love for those people who are higher. It's what they can get from them. Agape doesn't do that. Agape comes down from a higher level to consider even the most unworthy. Again, eros, agape loves everyone. Agape is not selective, while eros is selective. The reason why you will find we, at a social level, love some people more than others is because we are selective and we know what attracts us. Some are attracted by material things, some by external appearance, some by everything you may note them. Those things are stimulated by a chemical, if it is at a romantic level, called PEA, which I won't focus on. After all, I don't think it's the suitable subject for my audience. It's a chemical that will disappear after 6 months to 3 years. That is why many people begin when they really love each other in marriage. Then later you start wondering what happens. They were not in love. There were chemicals. They are called feel-good hormones. The effect is as good as bang. there's nothing about it. It means if you do not learn to differentiate these things, you will pay for the ignorance someday. Utafikiria mtu amekuruka kipetero. It's not so. It's the chemical that has stopped, and people start wondering whatever they saw, whatever they love, because the chemical saw and the chemical has gone. Agape, on the other hand, again, agape seeks to help. The primary motivation of agape is seeking to impart. Seeking to impart. Eros, on the other hand, seeks to gain. This is what Richard Dawkins would call selfish gene. Maybe, I'm not a biologist, but I don't buy everything he gives on it. But what I will tell you is that from at least the name, there are few things that are a reality in them, and often the way they are displayed. And before we come to understand why people behave the way they behave, we would have paid much for understanding how the people behave. It is never love, I repeat. It's something that seeks value. It seeks help. In other words, we can be so friends. Have you heard of people speaking of cutting negative energy, toxic, whatever? I mean, people thinking of how much they can gain from their friends, but they don't think of, why don't I get someone who is inferior and impart something in their lives? We hardly think of that. It's not in us. That is the work of Eros. That is the way we love. On the contrary, agape seeks the degraded ones and helps them. The final one is that agape is self-sacrificing. Eros is selfish. It's self-centered. Have you ever found people whom, or rather you may relate with this, a condition where someone tries to channel everything towards themselves. And I've come to learn that by experience, the more you learn what is right, you start detesting such an environment. It's hard because in the world we live, that is all that is generally offered. But I thank God that within our circles, we can find friends who have learned this. The reason why I highlighted those things is I've received questions like this. I have aborted. Can God forgive someone who has done abortion once? Yes. Then the same person, what about twice? You say yes. Well, what if mtu akifanya ya tatu? Yes. What about the fourth one? Yes. What about the fifth one? Yes. What about the sixth one? So I decided to cut short the numbers. They were none of my business, how many they were. So I told the person, God can forgive all of them. What motivates such a question is that people relate with each other on the grounds of Eros. So that if if a man was supposed to marry, and the man is purely actuated by Eros, and the lady tells them, by the way, in the days that I was messy, I aborted twice. Then the love he had disappears instantly. Now, if he had the right one, he can sustain the relationship still. If he has the Eros, the chemical will go away. It gets scared by whatever posts danger to self-interest. The reason why I'm emphasizing those concepts is because many stand away and fear God, thinking they must do something concerning their condition so that he may love them. The reason why many sinners are lamenting their sinful condition but never reaching out to God is because they think God is altogether like themselves. God is not looking for anything good in humanity. He is seeking to impart it. That means the lesson that we are going to learn today is geared towards helping us understand the plane on which God operates in love is different from the one we operate. Whatever I've given you is a very brief summary, but for those ones who will try better, there's a book called Agape and Eros by someone called Anders Nygren. Well, I got the book after serious struggles, and I thank God. But now you can also have your struggles and get the book, and you will thank God. Having highlighted that, friends, I want us now to consider something. Ellen White makes an interesting statement that love is a principle. Have you ever thought of that? Love is a principle. What does that mean in reality? We will highlight this. There are many things that have been said that love is blind. Have you heard of such things? Well, I've come to note by experience, you are the only ones who are blind, not even the eyewitnesses. The eyewitnesses maintain and know you are misbehaving, you are the only ones blind, not the eyewitnesses. And then we think love is blind. It doesn't blind anyone. Ni wawili tu wanakuanga blind. That is not love. That is eros. It is the work of hormones. It is not love. Thank you very much for understanding that one. We move forward, and I want us to note what the Bible tells us about love. There's something I want us to note, and I would ask you to take this keenly. It will help you now you relate with God at a personal level whenever you feel guilty. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, I'll do verses 4 to 8. Then I'll highlight a few elements. It says that love suffers long. That is, it is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. In other words, it doesn't brag. Love is not puffed up. In other words, it is not arrogant. Love does not behave rudely. It is not rude. Does not seek its own. It is not self-centered. Is not provoked. Love is not easily wounded. Kitu kidogo imekasirisha. That is not love. Goes on to say, love thinks no evil. At the plainest sense, love is optimistic. It doesn't not, it's not, it doesn't, this verse doesn't say that it does not see evil. It says it does not think evil. Those are two different things, right? In other words, there's what we call evil surmising. Where you sit and look at this person and you are like, you see two people are talking and you're sure, these wicked people are talking about me. That is not love. You know, you've not heard anything, but you are putting sin into their mouth and you want heavenly records to take that as sin. No, the sin is on yourself. That is not love. I go ahead and read. It says, love does not rejoice in iniquity. Anything that is wrong grieves love. And love rejoices in the truth. Anything that is right. And truth here means that it is truth as embodied in God himself, as the determinant of what is right and wrong. Then we are told that love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. In short, that love can really suffer so much, but it is still hopeful, hoping that things will get well. We do not know that as human beings. It's a hard concept for us. We are often impatient. It's either I get what I want or I disappear. Goes on to say, love never fails. And finally, because of its traits, it will always accomplish the good will it purposes. There are many things highlighted on that, and I will not focus on all of them because of time. But I want us to pick on something, friends, that is very important to me. First one, 1 John 4, it says that whosoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. That verse says that God is love. In other words, he himself in essence is love. It means that the personage of God embodies all the traits we've read. You get it? So whenever you are dealing with God, know that all those things, he doesn't easily get wounded. Sio mtu anafura, sio mtu ananuna. But next time maybe, I don't think if we will tackle that, Mungu pia ana catch. It is in the Bible. Yeye pia hukatch. But that is not my burden today. The only thing I'm telling you is that kabla catch, you've pushed him to the wall. But I want us to note that his patience, his forbearance, his hope, his ability to still hope for something good, even in degraded humanity, is so high that we can't comprehend while we are still operating on the grounds of errors. This concept was not